to personal credit. Actually, today is, let me admit somebody. Welcome to our 901 Personal Finance series, Oktoberfest. And today's program is called Investing in the Stock Market and Creating Generational Wealth. It is presented by Dr. Edmund Ford Jr., and he is our senior financial coordinator for the Memphis Public Library System, and he's also our elected official as a Shelby County Commissioner. So he's been providing credit repair and restoration yesterday, and we will upload that event into our library's website soon, and we will upload this presentation onto our library's website after today's presentation as well. And during this session, we will record the session, and if you want to ask questions, you can type into the chat box, and also unmute yourself when you want to speak. And we will have the next 2 hours exploring and learning more about investing in the stock market and creating generational wealth. So, Dr. Edmund Ford, you have the floor.
All right, and Wong Ying, thank you for that outstanding introduction. Wong Ying, ladies and gentlemen, I just have to say this. Wong Ying is part of a great team with us at the library. Wong Ying, as well as a few others, we have created the 901 Personal Finance. The 901 Personal Finance just doesn't deal with budgeting. You know, there's a misconception that when you look at personal finance, they just want you to make sure that you can balance a checkbook or balance some numbers. But it's more than that. I mean, when we go back and look at some of the items that we discussed in our 901 Personal Finance, we had a group that came in and talked about the hustle, the humor, and the lessons of a life in sales. We also had people from the Operation Hope, where they talked about credit and money management, and the virtual workshop was a great one from last week. We had Miss Laquita Jones, who did a remarkable job showing how to become an extreme couponer. She's been doing that for years and years and years. If anybody was able to be on for that, she actually had pictures of her washer, her laundry room, where I think she had about 100 containers of detergent. And that didn't even include the fabric softener and the bounce and everything else. But she showed how you can, well, let me put it this way. The holidays are coming up and prices of consumables are going up. And the way that she showed how to bring the prices down in this particular economy when like I said, the price of consumables going up and we have inflation, we can take anything that we can from her and learn that so that we can ensure that we don't have to pay full price for particular items, especially if there are sales across uh, particular parameters, whether it's a Walmart or a Walgreens or your local grocery store, things like that. We also talked about virtual Medicare and Social Security planning, and that was a very good one from this earlier this week. We did talk about the personal credit yesterday, and now today we have the stock market. Now, I don't know if any of you have been paying attention this week, but the Dow Jones and the S&P 500 both hit record highs. Now, that's a good thing, but you know, whenever there's a high, it's going to have to come down eventually. And in my presentation, I'm going to give a historical narrative on what the stock market has done since the 1930s. So I can't predict the future, but I can give you a lot of historical data to show you that even during the down times, you're going to see some increases. So let's go ahead and start. 901 Personal Finance, investing in the stock market and creating generational wealth. Wong Ying already did an introduction, but just to give you a little bit more information about me, I am the Senior Financial Literacy Coordinator for the City of Memphis Public Libraries. I also have certification and membership with the Credit Consultants Association. Credit repair specialist bonded with the state of Tennessee. I am a former Metro Nashville Public School and Shelby County Schools mathematics teacher. Um, I left the kids to be the senior financial literacy coordinator. But you know, in the words of Vito Corleone and The Godfather, you know, the mayor gave me an offer I couldn't refuse. But I'm still teaching people, just like those that are in attendance today and those that will be watching our programs virtually. I'm also a former Memphis City Councilman and current Shelby County Commissioner. So, with that being said, we did talk about some of the components in the Oktoberfest of the 901 Personal Finance. But before the pandemic, there were topics that I created called the 90-day curriculum to financial literacy. And some of those topics are on the right side, as you can see. We had topics such as purchasing your first home via the NACA program. In fact, Wong Ying, I have to give a quick story about this. There was a lady that participated in the Cornelia Crenshaw branch, and she also came to the branch at Gaston. She stated that she was homeless. She ended up getting the materials from the library and the materials from that day. They had her on Local 2430, I believe, last year. She went from being homeless to a homeowner, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm just giving quick stories about how the library resources, we've been able to touch people to where their lives have been um, improved. Finding scholarship money for college. We talked about an app called Scholly, where there was a gentleman that came to Memphis, and as a matter of fact, he was on Shark Tank. His name is Christopher Gray. He invented the app called Scholly. To give a quick 90-second version about him, he was from Birmingham, Alabama. He had to go to his local library and get in line to use the computer over and over and over to qualify for scholarships. He qualified for $1.3 million worth of scholarships. Went to Drexel University, got with a couple of his friends and said, you know what, we should make this an app. That app was the most downloaded app, I want to say either in 2014 or 2015. When he was on Shark Tank and he got a deal with Damon John and Lori Grenier, I made it my business to find this man. And I said, I want Memphis to be the first city. You can look this up. I'm not making this up. I wanted Memphis to be the first city to offer this to their high school graduates for free. But ladies and gentlemen, with some fundraising and some wonderful people that helped out, I was able to contact Christopher Gray. We had a wonderful conversation. We still have a good relationship today. We were able to ensure that every high school student in Shelby County Schools was offered this app for free so that he or she could get scholarship money. Learning about credit repair, and increasing your credit score. I've had stories good and bad. It's been mostly good, a couple of bad, but then I ask them, are they following the rules? And then we figure out some stuff on that. And then the free money in the workplace and the importance of life insurance, wills, and estates. This topic is so important because how many times have you seen a star, a celebrity, that did not have their fiscal house in order? And what happened was that their estate went intestate, which means without a will. And at the end of the day, you find out that the attorneys got more of the assets than the people that it should have gone down to. So we talked about that as well. As a matter of fact, when I was looking at Dr. Boyce Watkins' site, he talked about how DMX, rapper, it stated that DMX's estate battle gets even more complicated as a 15th alleged heir surfaces claiming to be his child. Now, I'm not sure if he had a will or not, but I know that there are several stars that you have probably seen in the paper where you're like, wow, how could you not have a will? It's important to have a will. Even wills and estates are not just for people who are rich. As a matter of fact, the less stuff you have, you want to make sure that after you leave this earth, you have those assets go to the right place. So with that being said, I just want to let you know that we have wonderful resources in your library. So I always do these 5 things first. I say your upward journey to greatness deals with this. First of all, this is a safe space, no judgments. As a matter of fact, yesterday, I talked about how I went from a 495 credit score to almost 800 within about 3 years. After a $3,200 challenge happened to me where $3,200 got taken out of my account because of a judgment And that made me put on my big pants and take ownership of my credit. So this is a safe space, no judgments. Also, bad beginnings can always be the start of new beginnings. This is not a get-rich scheme. As a matter of fact, what I'm going to show you, I have done for the last 4 years and change. It'll be 5 years January. So this is something that I learned from Dr. Boyce Watkins, who has a portal called the Black Business School. And he taught me, and I just want to make sure that you have some of these resources. Also, be the author of your own destiny. Don't let anybody else write your book of life. And then just don't take this information and give it to just yourself. Share it with friends and family. Let them know that, hey, these are free resources that they can take advantage of. So now, before we talk about the stock market, let's talk about what is a stock. So what are stocks? Did you know you have a way of owning some of the big companies? And I'm talking about some of those companies that you probably see on the news, or if you ever watch CNBC or Bloomberg, you might see some of the tickers at the bottom like, hey, it went up 12 cents. What does that mean? It went up $5. It went down $3. What does that mean? Well, stock is a share of a company held by an individual or group as an investment, where the money raised by the business for its everyday operations goes to particular things that you could actually vote for when you get particular things called proxies sent to you, whether it's the board of directors or particular items they want you to vote on. So, what do I get when I buy a share of stock? First of all, you get ownership rights. You profit when the value of the company increases. And you have some, but not all companies that offer dividends every 3 months, which is the share of the profits. Again, there are some that do not. I believe Amazon is one that does not, but I do know that there are some, and I could throw some examples out there if I looked at my portfolio. But you may think you don't have any ownership, but if you have one share of, let's say, Apple, for example, that means you have ownership of Apple. So if Apple votes on particular items and they want their shareholders to vote, you may get something in the mail or online saying, we're about to vote on this item regarding Apple. Cast your votes. And let's talk about those voting rights. So if you purchase common stock, you also get the voting rights, including voting on the board of directors who influence the company's direction. So you might say, I don't know these people. That's where the research comes in. And I'll just say, when I started doing research on some of these folks, I'm like, I think I want this person to influence the company's direction instead of this person. Now, numbers 3 and 4 go together. There's reward, but there's also risk. As I said, the value of the company could increase, which means the value of the stock increases. So if the company pays dividends, that is your share of the profits. Now, not all stock may go up. There are some that go down, and there are some that may go down to being a penny stock, and it could go out of existence. I'll give you one example of one that I used to have, and it was Sears. Sears back in the day, and I'm not trying to tell my age, but I remember when the Sears catalog came into the mail, and it was right before the holiday season, and I know I would circle particular items that I wanted. Well, you had online services that came in and took over, and those catalogs were no good. As a matter of fact, the Sears stock, before it went out of existence, went down to under $1. At one time, it was over $100 a share. Sometimes you just have to adapt to your surroundings, and sometimes you have to look at what's going to sustain and what's not going to sustain. Now, goes to number 4. Not all stocks increase in value. You have some companies that will file bankruptcy and lose value. I have in my portfolio, there are particular companies that I'm losing on, but there are companies that are winning so well that it is offsetting my losses. That's why you do not put all of your eggs in one basket, and we will talk about that in a future slide. But look at that last sentence. If a company files bankruptcy, the common stockholders get paid what? Last. That's different from if you own bonds. If you own bonds, you get paid first. If you own stock, you get paid last. So the goal is to grow slowly. As I said before, this is not a get-rich-quick scheme. And it's not going to appear that your wealth is growing like you want it to. But when you invest early over time, you're going to see results. Now, I want to do one thing real quick. Who is, and if you are able to put this in the chat, who is that person? Hold on one second. There we go. Who is that person right there? Anybody want to take a guess? Warren Buffett. Very good. I thought you were going to say Bernie Sanders, but one of my other classes, they thought it was Bernie. I was like, no, that's not Bernie, ladies and gentlemen. I like how Richard put it. Warren Buffett, dollar sign, dollar sign, dollar sign, dollar sign. And you're absolutely right, because it might have changed. But the last article that I saw, Warren Buffett was worth over 90 billion with a B dollars. And one thing that he believed in is to buy and hold. So very good. All right, so we can go back to our slideshow. So ladies and gentlemen, again, there will be good times and there will be bad times. So I'm going to give you a little historical data before we start digging deep into the weeds. I'm going to give you a little analysis on two particular times when the stock market significantly decreased. The stock market, when I say the stock market, the Dow Jones, the NASDAQ 100, the S&P 500, things like that. So in 2018, the S&P 500, which represents the market value of 500 large publicly traded companies, lost over 6% for that entire year. So in other words, let's say you put one investment in, which I don't recommend. You just do one investment. I recommend you do it over periods of time, and I'm going to talk about that when we get to that slide. But let's just say, hypothetically, you put in $10,000 in January 1. Well, December 31st, your $10,000 would have only been worth $9,380. Let me make sure I say that right for those who want to go back. If you had a $10,000 investment in 2018 and no other investments, your investment in December at December 31st would be worth $9,380. Now I know you're thinking, oh my goodness, and some people panic and say the sky is falling and they get out. But I'm going to show you historical data saying that you should have never gotten out. When you have dips like this, and this is for educational purposes, many people say you should buy the dip. So buying the dip is essentially when you see a correction or a crash or a recession or something like that, it is best to buy, because history shows that not only do you get the recovery at a discounted cost, it goes beyond. As I said before, this week, the Dow Jones and the S&P 500 reached record highs. Look at the next paragraph, next sentence. At the infancy of the pandemic, from February 19, 2020 to March 23, 2020, the market value of the S&P 500 dropped 33%. Now, ladies and gentlemen, not only has that money gotten an increase way and beyond, as I said before, it reached record highs. Excuse me. So how has the S&P done since its inception? Let's talk about that. So I want you to take about 15 seconds and look at this graph. This graph is accurate as of today. This is the S&P 500 over the last 90 years. And what you see, and I should have had the percents down here, but let's just use the graph for the sake of looking at the green bars and the red bars. So, the red bars will represent a decrease for that year, and the green bars will represent an increase in that year. So at first glance, yes, you have reds, but you have more green than red. As a matter of fact, in the 1920s and early 1930s, what happened right here? Does anybody want to put that in the chat? What happened right there? Anybody want to type? All right. Ms. Bolden states that it was the, oh, and Wong Ying too. It was the depression, but what was it specifically? The stock market crash of, anybody want to say the year? Close, Wong Ying. Very close, as a matter of fact. 1929, that's it. Very good. So we were almost there. All right. So I tell you what, because I don't know if you can actually see, Wong Ying, when I bring my screen up, does it show everybody's stuff on there? Or can you just see the PowerPoint?
We see PowerPoint. If you open the chat box, you can see people's typing.
Oh, I can see that. Okay, all right. So I'll let you control the chat box so I won't obscure the presentation. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, if you look, here was the Great Depression, stock market crash in 1929. Then what happened is you had the New Deal came in, but then you had World War II. Then you had an uptick. And for the most part, you had more green than red. Then you had inflation in the 1970s that hit here. Then you had more green than red. Then you had 9/11 that hit. Then you had a uptick. This is the housing bubble that burst. Then you had an increase. This was the year 2018 that I talked about in the other slide, and everything else has been an increase. So what does that mean as far as the value of the S&P 500? Well, look at that, ladies and gentlemen. Stock market crash, uptick. World war, uptick. So these gray areas is every time that the value of the S&P went down for that year. So you had a bad set of years here. You had your recovery, bad years, recovery, recovery, a whole lot of recovery. Now look, the S&P was only worth about 250 at that time. Increase, increase, increase. Had a bad couple of bad year or so, went back up. So even when you start in 2000 and you see 9/11 hit, increase. The housing bubble burst, increases. The pandemic, increases. So eventually, if you look at historical data, you will see increases over time. Oh, are you ready to invest? Well, you might not necessarily be convinced yet. But if you're still unsure, let's do a couple of quick exercises to get you more interested. So, first of all, and I have to do these as disclaimers because this is for educational purposes, and I can only give you my experience. I'm not going to give any advice because I can't do that. I don't want you coming back saying, well, Mr. Ford said this, and I don't want myself or the library being sued. So this is for educational purposes. We cannot predict the future on what will happen with the business and its stock price. We can only look at historical data. We use this historical data to make decisions on whether to purchase a stock or not. You will not be able to win without taking some risk. No risk, no reward. Think about if LeBron James never went to a basketball court and took a shot. That means he missed out on every single shot. Stephen Curry, who is arguably one of the best shooters ever, if he never shot a three-pointer ever in his life, that means he never took the opportunity and he never would have been the first NBA player to get two consecutive $200 million contracts. So no risk, no reward. So now let's look at this exercise here. So I'm going to give the answers, but what we're going to do is we're going to look at, hey, if we invested 5 years ago, we could go back into that DeLorean from the movie Back to the Future and buy these particular companies. Where would we be today? Now, I modified this because this morning I went and found out how much the price of that stock was at that time. Now, that was at 8 this morning. It is now Central Standard Time, 1 p.m. So anything could have happened. It could have gone up or down. But for the sake of this exercise, we will say this is how much the stock, give or take, was around 8 a.m. on October 27th, 2021. So we'll look at Amazon, we'll look at Google, we'll look at Netflix, we'll look at Apple, FedEx, and I put a couple others, Walgreens and Kraft. So I'm going to put the stock price 5 years ago. I'm going to put the stock price currently. And I won't do the net gain or loss. You can just visually see that yourself and take whatever notes that you are taking in the privacy of your own home. So if you look, wow, now isn't that something? Uh-oh, went a little bit too quick. Okay, so let's look at Amazon 5 years ago. 5 years ago, Amazon, a one share of stock of Amazon would have cost $625. Now let's say that you would have bought this stock and held this stock. Today, that $625 share of Amazon would now be worth $3,400. Wow. So that means you have almost more than quintupled the value. Buy and hold. Google, the same thing. It was $780 5 years ago. Now it's worth $2,900. Interestingly, Amazon was less of a price, but it has outshined its counterpart. Netflix 5 years ago was $109. If I would have gone back 10 years ago, Netflix would have been worth $5, give or take. Now, one share of Netflix is worth $670. Apple 5 years ago was worth $27. I can see some of the facial expressions of the people that are on. You're like, really, $27? How could I have gotten in there? Now it's worth $150 per share. FedEx is worth $165 5 years ago. Now it's worth $240 per share. Now, if you look at those first five, those all appreciated in value. But as I said before, not all companies are going to appreciate in value at that determined period of time. Let me say this. I have some in my portfolio that are still losing, but I had some that were losing that ended up winning. And I took the risk on buying it cheap, thinking that, hey, it may come back and gain a profit. But that's why you diversify. You're going to hear me say diversification or diversify a lot in this presentation, because you do not want to put your eggs in one basket. The former math teacher is also going to say this. There is a rule of 30 where if you create your own portfolio, it's best that you pick 30 different companies so that you can spread the risk across the board. So I just put on my math teacher professor hat, and now I'm about to take it back off. So let's look at Walgreens. Walgreens 5 years ago was $81 a share. Now, some people would think, hey, with the pandemic going on and partnerships with particular clinics and doctors and the government, it should have appreciated. Well, as of today, it's worth only $47 a share. I have 6 shares of Walgreens, so right now I'm not winning in that category. But I do have shares in other places as well without telling everything. So I have the loss being offset by other gains. And then Kraft, one thing about Kraft and other companies, if you ever see any news in the media that makes a company look like, uh-oh, something may happen, you may see a dip. There was some news that came out, without going into detail, about the owner of Kraft, which made the value of the stock go down. And interestingly, before that incident happened, I ended up buying 4 shares of that company. Then right when that incident happened, I was like, ain't that something? But that's just the risk that you take. So now it's $37 a share. So what have we learned here? There are some gains, but there are also some losses that go with it as well. So just make sure you diversify. Now, I know some of y'all looking at Amazon being worth $3,400, and you're probably looking at me like, now, Dr. Ford, who has $3,400 to buy one share of Amazon? I would love to buy Amazon, but I don't have $3,400 right now. So what are my other options? I'm glad you asked. So I'm going to show you through 3 apps how to invest with as little as $5 a month. I will also show you that you can buy a small portion of some of these blue chip stocks that have been around for a long time so that you can be, how I call, in the game. So you might not be able to buy $3,400 of Amazon, you might be able to buy $34 worth of Amazon or $340 worth of Amazon. But remember, you want to diversify. So what if you also say, well, I don't want to pick the wrong stocks? As I mentioned before, ladies and gentlemen, there are risks, but with risk comes reward as well. It's very crucial that you spread out your risk again by diversifying. As I said before, you do not put all your eggs in one basket. You want to have multiple shares or partial shares just in case you cannot buy one share of a particular company outright. You want to diversify so that the ones that don't do well are offset by those that perform well. Your gains should counter your losses over time, producing profit and future wealth. I will show you how to do that through these three apps. Now, I did not talk about this at the beginning, and I should have, but the average, in fact, I'll go ahead and show this real quick. I want you to look at the number real quick, and I'm going to come back. What is this number on the left side? 9%. I forgot to go to that, but 9%, according to the Motley Fool article, How Have Stocks Fared the Past 50 Years, shows that the annualized return on stocks has been 9.05% from the late 1800s to 2015. Now, does your bank or credit union give you 9% on your savings account? You already know the answer to that question. But I just wanted to point that out because on average, 9% on an investment, yeah, you're winning. There will be some bad times and some good times, but it overall averages out to be 9%. So, with that being said, let's go back from the current slide and let's talk about what do I do in order to invest in the stock market. I want you to look at this article. This actually happened, ladies and gentlemen. So you do not have to be that big old expert that on Wall Street people say, hey, I know more than everything else. I want you to look at this article real quick. Now, if it's too small, I'm not going to read everything, but I will read the most important pieces. It says, the title by Rick Ferry, it says, any monkey can beat the market. Now, I know you're probably thinking, what in the world are you talking about, Dr. Ford? So let me tell you what happened. It says, give a monkey enough darts and they'll beat the market. So says a draft article by research affiliates highlighting the simulated results of 100 monkeys throwing darts at the stock pages in a newspaper. The average monkey outperformed the index by an average of 1.7% per year since 1964. And it says that's a lot of bananas. What happened? Can Did y'all lose me? If I'm gone, let me know. Uh-oh. If I'm here, let me know.
You're here.
Can you see and hear me? Question mark. Did I go out and come back in?
Yes, but we can hear you now.
All right, beautiful, excellent. So I'll just start back over on this particular slide for the purposes of making sure that you understand this particular slide. So if I go back to this current slide, you have Princeton University professor Burton Malkiel in his best-selling book, A Random Walk Down Wall Street, a blindfolded monkey throwing darts at a newspaper's financial pages could select a portfolio that would do just as well, if not better, as one carefully selected by the experts. So essentially, you have the experts pick stock, and then you have the monkeys throwing darts at particular businesses, and the monkeys beat out the human beings. It said Malkiel was wrong. The monkeys have done a much better job than both the experts and the stock market. So it wasn't just the experts, they were beating the stock market out. So the company randomly selected 100 portfolios containing 30 stock from a 1,000 stock universe. They repeated this process every year from 1964 to 2010, so for 36 years. The process replicated 100 monkeys throwing darts at the stock pages each year, and amazingly, on average, 98 of the 100 monkey portfolios beat out the 1,000 stock capitalization weighted stock universe each year. So, I mean, when I first heard that from Dr. Watkins, I was like, wait a minute. That means I don't have to hire that person that says they know everything. I can do it myself. And that's why we have this as one of our items in our 901 personal finance. So, are there any questions so far? I don't see any, so I will continue. Okay, so I really make money. Let's talk about this item right here. So now, let's say that you're only able to invest $1 a day. And I'll work my way to the bottom because this is a very important slide where I want to show you on average, if you're able to make 9% in the stock market and you continuously put this investment in for X amount of years, I'm going to show you what the portfolio value is on average using the algebra. And I'll put on the side the notes on what you invested. So I'll explain the first line so that you can know exactly where I'm coming from. So the investment is $1 a day, which is on average $30 a month. So let's say you're only able to do $1 a day in the stock market in a portfolio that on average would bring you back 9%, give or take. Let's say you only do that for 5 years. Well, your portfolio value, according to the mathematics, would be $2,264.67. So what does that mean? Well, $1 a day for 5 years is $1,800 if you did not put it in a portfolio or a savings account. So you ended up getting another $464.67 in value. Now I know some people, especially when I talk to high schoolers and college students, they were like, "Well, that's not really that much money." I'm like, "Okay, how you doing, Miss Johnson? Welcome, Miss Johnson. Good to see you." All right. So, okay, that's 5 years. Let's take it further. Let's say you still do that $1 a day at 9%, give or take, and now we do 10 years. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you just don't double the number at the top, and I'll tell you the reason why. Whoever just joined, if you can mute real quick, that would be great. If you don't have that capacity, I know that one of us will be able to do it. Thank you. All right. So one day, $1 a day, $30. Thank you. $1 a day for 10 years would actually yield 5,000. No, it would yield a portfolio value of $5,816.18. What does that mean? You put in 3,600 of your own money, and your portfolio is now increased by an additional $2,200. So it's not you multiplying the 2,200 by 2, and I'm going to tell you the reason why. And that's the math professor coming out of me again. I'll tell you why that you don't just multiply the numbers because of something called compound interest. But let's take it further. Let's say you can only do $1 a day and you continuously do it for 20 years. Now you get to see some dividends produced because you only put in $7,200 of your own money. But on average, your portfolio would now be worth $20,000, which means you've made $13,000 in interest. Now, is your bank or credit union giving you that type of interest? We know the answer to that question. So now let's say you can do more than $1 a day. Let's say that you can do $5 a day, which is $150 a month at 9% for 10 years. Well, that means you put in $18,000 of your own money, but your portfolio value is now worth $29,000, which means that your portfolio has made $11,000 in profit. I'm going to take it further. In fact, one item that I titled this presentation was to to my 18-year-olds, I asked them, do they want to be the 40-year-old with $100,000 of stocks? And they were like, of course I do. I asked them, how many people do you know in your neighborhood that's got $100,000 in stocks or money? All right. So they said, I don't know anybody. I said, well, how about you be that first person or that second person, that third person? Just be that person. So I informed them. Now, these were 18-year-olds I talked to, so they may not have been able to do $5 a day up front. But I told them, I said, look, let's look at $5 a day. Let's say that you're able to do $5 a day and you're 20 years old. And you invest for 20 years. You got your $100,000 worth of stocks. You put in 36,000 of your own money, but it generated interest and profit of $64,000. So now you have a $100,000 portfolio on average using the historical data. That's not bad at all. I wish I could go back and do this when I was 18 and know the rules of the game. I might have been able to put a little bit more than the $5 a day. So with that being said, I got the big bucks and no whammies right here. I know you're probably like, Dr. Ford, why did you put that number right there? I may not be able to put in $1,500 a month. Well, you know, your landlord or landlady, if you're renting, might be doing this. Think about this scenario. Appreciate this. Let's say, and I know we got some people from California and Florida on, so I know if your rent was $1,500, you would say, oh, I would love this. But in California and Florida, to live nice, it might be a little bit more than $1,500. If you're in New York, oh, you can forget about $1,500. But the point I'm trying to make is, let's say your landlord or landlady decided, hey, I'm going to take your monthly rent and I'm going to specifically put it in my diverse portfolio of stocks. Now, I'm going to do that for 20 years while you're renting. So let's say that you're that renter that does not want to get a house, or hey, you get replaced by somebody else. Well, this landlord or landlady, after 20 years, you just made them a millionaire. And that's just on one unit, ladies and gentlemen. Let's say you live in an apartment complex with 30 or 40 or 50 or even 12 units. If they're able to do this, hey, I just gave you an idea. Why don't you be the landlord or landlady? I just gave you one of the cheat codes, one of the pieces of the blueprint. Any questions so far before we dig on this occurs and what to do next? Any questions? Seeing none. I know that was up there, but I just wanted to see real quick. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's go back to this. So how does this happen? It's called compound interest, ladies and gentlemen. Because look at this graphic right here. You don't go from just 1, 2, 4, 8. I mean, compound interest works to where your money makes money on top of the money. So your soldiers go out to the field to bring more soldiers back. Look at this graphic right here. Green represents principal. Let's say that this is the money that you're putting in your coffee can or in your mattress. Well, your money is not making any money. And you know, your $100 today in the mattress might be worth $95 and then $90 and then $80. It's not growing. So this green is if you just have this money that is not in a savings account or in a diversified portfolio in the stock market. So you don't want the green because there's no growth. Now, let's say that your bank does something called simple interest. There's a difference between compound interest and simple interest. For example, simple interest, let's say that I give you 10% on your money and you got $100. That means I'm going to give you $10 every time. Simple interest is, oh, you keep getting $10. But I'm up to 110 now. I'm only giving you $10 because I'm giving you simple interest on what you had initially. Compound interest does this. Let's say that you got $100. Now I'm going to put 10% on. Okay, now you're at 110. Compound interest is now going to give you the interest on the 110, which is going to get you about $121, $122. Then the next month, oh, I'm gonna give you 10% on your new value, not your original principal. So the stock market does like the purple. Your bank does like the blue, if you're lucky. But their interest rate is not 10%. Their interest rate, if you're lucky, is 0.10%. And then principal is you're not making any money off of it at all. So there's a gentleman that you may know from the history books, Albert Einstein. If you don't believe anything I say to this particular point, at least believe this man right here. He said, compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. He who understands it earns it, and he who doesn't pays it. Think about that part you have in the interest. Think about if you got a loan and they got the interest on it. If you don't understand the rules of the game, the people that do are making money off of you. If you understand the rules of the game, you're making the money off of them. That's essentially what he's saying. So with that being said, the rules to the game, I'm giving you 4 things here. Again, I'm going by my own experience, and this is for educational purposes. First of all, I would say do the market research. Pick around 30 companies. Again, that rule of 30, the math professor came on. Pick around 30 companies that you would like to invest over time. That should say in creating your own portfolio, not if creating your own portfolio. Well, no, you say if. And I say 30 because you can always add more to the portfolio. I started off with 30. I probably have about 95 companies now that I've added. Well, not added. I've gotten up to about 95 companies. And the more diversified you are, the better. You don't want to pick 3 or 4 unless you are picking something called an ETF, which I will talk about in a future slide. Number 2, continue to invest. You cannot just invest one time and that's it. Remember the graph that I showed you, the graphic that I showed you, the $1 a day, which is $30 a month, the $5 a day, which is $150 a month. You have to continuously do this. This is not a one-off. Remember, your goal is to build wealth over time. Number 3, don't sell too early. As a matter of fact, the only time that I sell is if I'm going to buy something else immediately. I do not cash out. If you cash out, you are messing up the trajectory of your compound interest from a mathematical standpoint, unless you are buying something else. Now, Warren Buffett is one that if he sells some of his stock, he's immediately buying something else. So just remember, this is not where you're supposed to just cash out. I mean, I don't plan on cashing out until I'm ready to retire. I know one gentleman who retired at 49, who started at 18, and his 7-figure portfolio is making enough in dividends where he is living off the dividends, living his best life. Man, I wish I could go back to 18. But he gets to play golf when he wants to. His mortgage is being paid by his dividends. He was taught early. And that's exactly what Warren Buffett did. Remember, Warren Buffett still lives in his 5-bedroom, 4-bath home in Omaha, Nebraska. He doesn't have this big mansion somewhere like some. I'm not saying, I'm not judging one way or the other. Remember, this is a safe space, no judgments. And then number 4, you don't have to be rich to start. There are apps that can be downloaded where you can start as little as $5. So with that being said, let's go ahead and take a 5-minute break so that we can regroup, take a few notes, and I will start talking about these 3 apps that I have personally, where we will also check to make sure that the video works. So if the video doesn't work, I do have options to where I do not mind bringing up YouTube if I have to, for the purposes of us being able to show the presentation. So with that being said, we will take one question from Ms. Johnson. I'm glad you were able to get in because it looked like it was trying to boot you out. Thank you, Richard. Great info so far. So the question is, what exactly are we looking for when doing market research? So again, what I did was look at historical data. So in this exercise, I won't tell you which ones to pick because I can't do that. I'm not going to put myself personally or the library in some type of liability. I can only go and let you know, hey, through historical data, it did this, but we cannot predict the future. There is a Google search that you can do where in my last presentation on the stock market, there was one person that stated that they wanted to see what the market cap was for the top 200 companies. Now, when I say market cap, I'm looking at who is basically saturated in this market to a particular degree. And many of those companies that I saw were Tesla and Apple and things like that. But you get to pick because there are some that I know and I picked in my first 30 that were not part of the top 20 or the top 30 or the top 100. But when I did my research, I said, you know what? I'm going to take my chance on this particular company or on this particular company. Now, I will be honest with you. I did have Amazon and Google on my list of 30. Now, I did not have the money at the time to buy them outright, but I was determined to save enough to where I could buy it outright because at that time, Robinhood, you weren't allowed to buy a fractional share, but now you can. But the low ones first and way up to the more expensive ones. Then what I did was I started it back over while doing more research, saying, hey, what else do I want to add to this portfolio? But let's say that you want somebody else to do the diversifying for you. There are options in at least 2 of these apps where you would be able to have a diversified portfolio for yourself where the Vanguard system has already created it for you, but you may want to create your own. You never know. Let's see. This information has been most informative. I have to leave for a bit. Would like to finish the presentation. Will it be recorded for future viewing? Absolutely. Wong Ying, I don't know if you wanted to add to that because I know that you're partly responsible for making sure that it is recorded, transcribed, and placed on the website. She might have gone on break. Oh, there she go. Wong Ying, go right ahead.
I think I'll send it to Cloud 901. They will edit it and upload it on YouTube. And maybe you can leave an email address. I can forward you the information once it's being uploaded.
Absolutely. And Kim, if you do, if you're not able to come back and get the actual links, the links will be in the presentation so that you can sign up. If you haven't already signed up, one of the links will get you with successful sign up $20. Another one will be $5, and then the third one you'll get a free share of stock. So Kim, don't worry, we got you covered. Are there any other questions before we? Oh, she got it. All right. I'll take that down. Very good. All right, folks, we'll start back in 3 minutes. Glad we're having a good time here, folks. It's very good information.
Edmund, do you want to check out to see if your video
let's test it out. We can test it out since y'all will go back and so let's see if it works. All right, boom, 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 boom. Uh-oh. Oh, here we go.
Before you upload, before you do the upload, there is a choice on the left side. You click on with audio. And then once you did that, you show the movie or clips, it will have sound.
Is it over here?
It's not on the, when you have the Teams, when you click on this upload, I'm not familiar with what you see here. It's not on
because what I see is You don't
It's
see it?
not on the video clip. It's on your Teams.
Okay, so let
You
me
can
go to,
you can
no, not that.
you can delete this presentation and re-upload the presentation. And before you re-upload the
Oh, okay, take it
presentation,
down and take it back up. All
mhm,
right, I'll take it down. All right, I
and
took it down.
then you do the re-upload.
All right, re-upload.
Do you see, it will ask you where do you want to get this file, right? On the left, middle, or corner, they said that like you click on one button, it will say show audio.
Let's see. I'm trying to find it. I see something in the middle, but uh-oh. Let me try something real quick. How about now, Wong Ying?
No.
No?
Yeah, if you have not clicked on that audio, click that button, it will not show sound.
So you can see the video, you just can't hear it.
Mm-hmm. That's
Okay.
correct.
All right, so
Excuse
let's,
me.
yes.
When I'm just putting my 2 cents in because I'm a teacher and we had to use Teams forever.
Yes, ma'am.
Usually when we share, like in the beginning, when you first go to share your screen, I don't know if you push desktop or just that particular screen, but usually that share audio she's talking about, it shows like then when you're initially sharing your screen. I don't know if you can do it while you're already sharing.
Let me ask everybody this. If I just go here, um, let me find it real quick. Let me see if it will show up. I'm going to go to the presentation. Copy video URL. Because if I have to just copy and paste it here, do we have the same issue? Can you hear it?
No.
You still can't hear it?
Mm-mm.
Okay. All right. So let's do one more
Are
thing.
you in Teams right now?
I am.
On your team screen where like if you wanted to, I guess, like stop sharing, it
All right.
should be like a little drop down. It's usually just like a little tab. You switch over to and you click share audio as well. Do you see it?
Include computer sound. Okay, so let's
Yeah,
try that.
yeah, yeah.
So mine looked a little bit different. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the PowerPoint. And ladies, if y'all have found the Holy Grail per se, I am sincerely appreciative. So let's do this one more time. Can you hear?
This is D-Lits TV. On this
Yes.
channel, I talk about all things investing with my.
We are wonderful. Thank y'all so much. Thank y'all so much.
Problem
All right.
solved.
All right, we'll start back in 1 minute. Uh-oh. Let me go back to from current slide. There we go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we solved that issue. So now we got some people waiting in the lobby. Let's let them in. Thank you and welcome. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, we are back and we solved a computer inquiry. So let's talk about the 3 stock market apps that, I mean, there's others, but these are my top 3. You can find others if you like and see if those are reputable and whatnot. But these 3 apps can be downloaded on your Android, iPad, iPhone, or on your desktop. Now, before you download them, when I get to my last few slides, if you use what I send you, you should be able to receive that benefit, because what will happen is if you use that link and you successfully sign up, you will receive the incentive that I talked about. So we're going to talk about Acorns first. We'll talk about Robinhood second, and we'll talk about Stash third. Now, just me personally, Robinhood is my favorite. Stash is my second favorite. And Acorns is still a favorite of mine because of what it does. But I just want to show you how all of these items, these apps per se, all have distinct things that they do where you may say you like one better than the other. So with that being said, let's look at Acorns first. Acorns. It says, let your spare change add up and build wealth slowly. I downloaded this in 2017, and I can let you know that, hey, there has been a lot of increase in many of the things that I talked to you today about have worked. We have somebody else in the lobby. Welcome. What it does is it rounds up your so-called change to a portfolio. So let me tell you about the change piece. So let's say you got your debit card and some credit cards and others. So what happens is, welcome to the program. Whatever your transaction value is on your debit or credit card happens to be, if it's linked to the Acorns app, what will happen is it will round it up to the nearest dollar and put that change away in an already pre-made diversified portfolio. So in other words, let's say that I went to Smoothie King and I bought a 32-ounce smoothie for $10.22. If my debit or credit card is linked to Acorns, what will happen is it'll say, oh, you went to Smoothie King, spent $10.22, and we're going to round up 1022 to $11. So that 78 cents of change will go into a diversified portfolio. Now, I know some of y'all are thinking, what's 78 cents going to do? Well, think about it this way. Think about that coffee can where you put your change away and all of that other stuff. Well, your coffee can change is not making any interest. Your coffee can change might be spent on other things. At least with this change per se, you're putting in a diversified portfolio that will make you interest, like we talked about. And these are pre-made portfolios that have stocks, bonds, and real estate. And we'll talk about that in some of the slides. So Acorns is one where, hey, you might decide, I want to put away $25 a month on top of my change. I want to put $50 a month away on top of my change. It will give you the option to add to your change in that diversified portfolio. So with that being said, let's look at this quick video, and then I'm going to show you a screenshot.
Hello and welcome back to the channel. If this is your very first time here, hello, my name is Dalton. This is DLITS TV. On this channel here, we talk about all things investing with my tips, tricks, and insight into the stock market. If that's something that interests you, you're looking to increase the size of your portfolio quickly, jump down, click that subscribe button, turn on the bell notification, post a ton of videos you're definitely not going to want to miss. And here in this one today, we're going to be talking all about a new platform here to this channel, and that's going to be Acorns Investing. Now, I'm taking advantage of Acorns Investing for a number of different reasons. I'm going to be talking all about it in this video here today. I'll give you a full app breakdown, a beginner's guide to Acorns Investing. So if you're interested in that, stay tuned. All right, so now that the Acorns app is open, I'm going to be jumping in. I'm going to be giving you a lot of details here on the application itself. But first, I want to cover why I'm starting to use Acorns right now. The reason why I'm using Acorns is because I can see it as a new way to automate my investing even further. I want to give it a test. I used it once before in the past. I had a great experience with it. Basically, what I did was just saved excess money, and then I spent it on a vacation, actually, is how I withdrew the money from the account. But what I look to do is hold this money in here for a very long time. I'm going to be setting up recurring investments on this video here today, and I'm going to be setting up the roundup functionality. And hey, as you get further into this video, just remember, if you are taking anything away, it would really mean a lot to me if you would just sauce a like on this video. It helps with the YouTube algorithm. It helps me. It just lets me know that you enjoy seeing this content. So I'm going to set the like goal for this video at 35. Let's see if we can hit 35. It would really mean the world to me. Thank you so much. So let me just jump in and I'll start doing that. So you can see here is the home screen. You have a little good afternoon, Dalton. Obviously, it's going to give you a little welcome greeting there. Invest for your future. That is the first section that I'm going to be clicking into. So let me go ahead. And you can see I can do roundup, one-time withdrawals. You can see my portfolio right now is set on aggressive, but let me jump into that roundup section. So essentially what happens is anytime you spend money, it's going to round up to the nearest dollar. So for example, you can see right here, Uber Eats cost me $24.72 the other day. If I were to round that up, I would be investing 28 cents, making it even $25, and that would go directly into this Acorns account. So rounding up is a way to automate your spending and your investing. So anytime you do something like that, let's say you buy an iced coffee at Dunkin' Donuts for like $2.75, it's going to invest a quarter into your Acorns account automatically, and that's roundups, and it just makes it extremely hands-off. You don't have to do anything. It automatically pulls it and puts it into this account, and that's one of the things I really like. So my recurring investments have not started going through quite yet, just because I recently linked my account with them. So from here on out, anytime I spend money, it's going to automatically round up and invest. You also have this one-time category. You can click right into that, and you can have a one-time investment. So let me just show you, for example, I'm going to invest we'll do 20 bucks into the account just to kick it off, just to get a little baseline in there. I know it's not a lot of money, but I just want to show the features here. Please confirm this $20 investment for your future. Yes, I'm going ahead and confirming that. And then you can either make that recurring or not now. I'm going to do not now and show you the recurring later on. Obviously, if you want to withdraw the money, you just click on withdraw here. And my account balance, as I said, it takes 1 to 3 business days to get in there. So my account balance right now is 0. I won't be able to withdraw any money. But one thing that you need to keep in mind is that Acorns does have a premium. It does have a fee. So it's going to be $1 per month for the light features. And I really think the light features is all you need when you're using this application. There are different tiers, different levels that you can use to take advantage of what it has to offer. But I'd say if you're testing it out, you might as well start with the light. Just see if you enjoy it, see if you like it, and you can make your decision from there. If you look at the portfolio style here, you'll notice that I'm on aggressive. There's a number of different portfolio styles that you can choose from. You can go conservative, where you can see it just breaks up the types of investments you make. You got conservative, you have moderately conservative here, and you can see the breakdown on the pie chart there. They do a really great job visually just showing what kinds of companies you're going to be investing in. You can see this is the moderate category right here. And I'm going to go ahead and go into the moderately aggressive. And in my opinion, the aggressive one isn't all that aggressive. You know, I'd be doing a lot different style investments, but this invests in large company stocks, invest in medium company stocks, IJH, small company stocks, IJR, and then international company stocks as well. So you have a nice little variety in there, and you can target the exact portfolio that you want. I want to see the best results. I'm young. I have a long time to invest. Acorns, especially, I don't know. For me, aggressive just seems to make sense. But let me know if you guys use Acorns. What are you planning on doing? What is your investment style? What will you be choosing for your portfolio style here? So let me go back. We got the roundup settings. Right now, it's set to automatic. Basically, you can see I have one linked card. I linked my credit card. I use my credit card essentially like a debit card, where I spend the money, pay it off on my debit account. And that's just how I kind of handle it. It makes it a lot simpler when I'm purchasing, when I'm looking for different items, and knowing that I have the money up front, not having to worry about it. So you can also add a multiplier onto that. So you could do 2 times, 3 times, or 10 times. If I were to do that, it just doubles your investment. So if you have that 25-cent investment, it's going to then make it 50 cents. For now, I think I will keep it off just for now, just to round up. It'll make it really even in my bank account.
All right, people. So with that being said, going back.
What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I've got another exciting video to bring to you. What we're going to be doing here is a complete beginner's guide into the Robinhood app. I'm going to be taking a guest onto this channel, and we're going to be signing up. We're going to be going into the very first investment that they're ever going to make, and it's going to be some really great stuff. So if you're interested in learning more about Robinhood, getting more of that tutorial, getting more in depth with it, this video is going to be really great for you. And it's going to be teaching you, not only some of those features that you're already aware with if you do currently use Robinhood, but it's going to be going into depth about some features that you may not already be aware of. So this is a lot of great stuff coming at you. And without
All right. All right, I found it, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, very good. I did not know it was going to do that. So do we still have everybody and presentation? All right. There we go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I had a little snag on the computer. So if you can hear me and see me, type that in the chat if you don't mind. Can you see and hear me? Can you see and hear me? All right, yes, thank you very much. All right. Okay, so to give you just a little glimpse of what I have done without telling too much, keeps going to this. All right, here we go. From current slide. All right, so if you look, this is what I've done. Okay, so for example, your roundups do this, for example. So I had roundups of $5.59. This was like April 19, 2021. I made a screenshot for you. So every $5 of roundups that you have, what will happen is it will put it in your portfolio. As you noticed in the video, there were 5 pre-made portfolios, everything from very conservative to very aggressive. Me personally, because of my age, I am going very aggressive, but the rule of thumb is the more seasoned you are, I don't call people old, so I'm just going to say the more seasoned you are. The more seasoned you are, the rule of thumb is to go more conservative with bonds and things like that. So if you look at this screen, I went to Farm Burger and spent $13. Well, since 13 ended in 00, I have one of two options. Either I can have it not round up at all, or it can round up to a full dollar. I just round up to a full dollar. So if you look here, Farm Burger, extra dollar. Went to get gas, spent $44, rounded up. Went to Smurfy's Smokehouse, I spent $32.67. It rounded up to $33, that's 33 cents. Went to Tugs in downtown, spent $25.08. If you round it up to $26, that's 92 cents that's put away. So in this one day, $5.59 of change was put away. Interesting. And then, of course, there's other days as well. So you're already putting away $5.59 on a diversified portfolio. Now, the gentleman did say it cost $1 a month. This week, the price went up to $3 a month. So I still think it's pretty good, especially if you link your debit and credit cards. And then look at this, ladies and gentlemen. As of April the 22nd, I have had 3,404 roundups. It's more now, but for educational purposes, I'm just showing you since 2017, as of April 22nd, I had 3,404 roundups. My average roundup is about 52 cents. Look how much it rounded up. So again, this is out of 4 years worth of rounding up. Now, be honest with yourself. What do you think you would have done with that $2,023.52 if it wasn't rounding up? You probably would have spent it on something. So with that being said, let's talk about Robin. Well, first of all, are there any questions? Wong, Ying, do this for me. Can you see if there are any questions regarding acorns? Because we did have a little bit of a technical issue and everything. If you could read any of those questions. Does anybody have any questions about acorns that I can answer right here before we go to Robinhood?
I don't see any questions in the chat.
All right. Well, if you think of any, ladies and gentlemen, we will always come back and discuss Acorns, Robinhood, any of the apps. So now, if we go back to the current slide, Robinhood. Now, this is my personal favorite, but I find out from many of my people that I talk to that this is like their second favorite or third favorite. Now, you can purchase a full share of stock, but now you can actually purchase a partial share. So again, $3,400 is what it costs for a full share of Amazon. But what if you want to put 0.1 of a share? Well, that's $340. What if you want to do 0.01 shares? Well, that's $34. So you can do partial shares of stocks and ETFs. Let me tell you what an ETF is. The ETF in my definition, it's the cousin of a mutual fund. It is a already diversified set of stocks that you can purchase in one loop. I'm going to talk about that more in Stash, but think about some of the tech stocks that we talked about. Well, you may not be able to buy Amazon and Google outright, but it would be great if there was an ETF that was already pre-made that had Amazon and Google that you could get a fractional share of and be in the game. I'm going to talk about how you're able to do that. With Robinhood, there's no commissions to pay or account minimums, and they do have options like a high yield checking and savings account option as well. You do not have to get those options, but I'm not going to play the entire video on Robinhood, but I'm going to show you just a little bit. I have to turn the computer option on again. All right. Let me stop sharing and let me share computer sound, window, teaching the rules, Robinhood. All right, to make this simple, we're just gonna watch it inside of the screen so I won't have to worry about anything.
Hey guys, my name is Andre Jick and I'm so excited for this video because in this one, I'm going to teach you how to use the Robinhood app. It's going to allow you to buy and sell stocks for free. And I'm going to show you how to sign up, how to use the app with all the swiping features. It's like Tinder, but for things that make you money. If you follow all the instructions in this video, you and I are going to get one free stock at random. It could be worth a few dollars or something like Apple or Tesla, which is worth a couple $100. It's all random. That's why I'm excited. So pull your phones out. Let's get started. Green icon and the white feather.
Let's do this. All right, here we go.
Up, guys. And make up a password. Make sure it's something hard, but something you'll remember. And go ahead and hit continue. Put in your legal name as opposed to your illegal name, which in his case is Gigolo. It's his Nightcrawler name. And hit continue. At this point, it's going to ask us for our phone number, starting with the area code. So go ahead and fill that in and hit continue. Next up, date of birth. Go ahead and fill that in as well and hit continue. The next one is residential address. It's going to try to guess, but go ahead and put in your full address in anyway and hit continue. Next up is your citizenship. Can you guys guess what Angelo is? He is Indonesian. None of you guys guessed that. Go ahead and smash continue and hit continue right here. It's going to ask for your social security number. Go ahead and put that in. And how much investment experience do you have? Angelo has none, so we're going to hit none. Are you employed? Yes, we are. I hope you are too. Making some money, and go ahead and put in your employer and your job description or title. And after you're done with that, go ahead and hit continue. Are you or a family member a trust fund baby? Hit no. Most of us are not. And does your family work for another brokerage? No. At this point, you're just going to ask you to verify your first name. Go ahead and hit continue if all looks correct, along with your last name, and scroll down through this really important information that you should probably read and hit submit your application. At this point, it's going to ask you to fund the account, so go ahead and click continue. Okay, so at this point, they're going to ask to connect to your bank account, and whoever you bank with, it's going to ask for the username and the password. And I know it's a weird thing, but I promise you, in the 5 years that I've had a dividend stock right in front of you, so let's dive in right now. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and open up the Robinhood app, and I'm going to search for MO, which is Altria. And you can see this is all the price action history. We could see it in 1 week terms, and you can even trace your finger over this line to see in real time what the price has done. You can see that in 1 month, and 3 month, even 1 year, and up to 5 years, what the price has done. It's super interesting. If I go back to 1 year, you'll see that the stock has kind of trended towards the lower amount. And below that, you'll see the statistics for the stock, like the dividend yield and the PE ratio, which is super important. And below that, you'll see the news, which if you hit show more, it'll show you even more news from lots of different news sources. If we go back, you'll see lots of different analyst ratings, sell ratings, etc., which is lots of noise in the industry that I don't really pay attention to. Now below that, you'll see the earnings for the quarters and even the earnings per share. It says 95 cents for each stock, for one stock that you buy. Now below that, you'll see other companies that people have bought, like Philip Morris, AT&T, General Mills, ExxonMobil, British American Tobacco, and Verizon. I have all of these companies in my portfolio. Now if you scroll lower, you'll see a little bit about the company, when it was founded, and pretty important stuff. If you hit the buy button, you'll actually be able to buy the stock. So I'm gonna go ahead and put in right here 1 share. And at this point, I can actually hit review, and if I swipe up, I'll actually buy the stock, but I'm not gonna do that right now. So I'm gonna hit edit, go back and click on market price. If you guys hit market price, it'll show you the last sale, the bid, and the ask. So I'm gonna dismiss that, and I'm gonna show you something else. If we go back and start from new, we hit buy, and go to the upper right, you'll see order types. So see that in the upper right hand corner is in the bottom left, you'll see this main hub. You'll see all the cryptocurrencies here that I have, and all the stocks that I own, they're all highlighted in white, as you can see. But if I scroll lower, you'll see all of these grayed out stocks, but you can see them, and that's actually on my watch list. So if I hit the search bar and I type in, let's say, McDonald's, MCD, you'll see there's a check mark next to the name. And if I click it, I've just removed it from my watch list. So I'm going to check it back, and that way I have easy access to it. So I'll show you in the bottom left again. It'll be somewhere along these stocks, but basically it prevents you from having to go to the center bottom tab there and having to look up every stock every time. So that's what a watch list does. It's just for convenience.
All right, so now the Robinhood app is my favorite because I can actually buy the entire share of stock, and I created my own portfolio. Unlike Stash and the other one, Acorns, you can't create your own portfolio. So I want you to look at this. I'm going to give you an example of, this came from April as well. I have 5 shares of Sony. I think I got 6 now. And what I did was, just go back. This was part of my 30 that I picked. No, it wasn't one of the top in the market cap and everything else, but I was like, you know what? I would like to have some shares of Sony. You know, think about some of the things that you own at your house or apartment or whatnot. Would that be a nice company in order to buy? For example, if you got a lot of Nike sneakers, do you have any Nike stock? I do. I remember there was something going on with Nike where the price dropped, and I got right in because I'm like, look, Nike's not going anywhere. You got ambassadors like Michael Jordan. I mean, it's not going anywhere. But again, I'm not telling you what to do. You make your own decision. But the decision that I made was I want to invest in companies I know they're going to be around, well, I hope are going to be around in the long interim. So what I did was, if you look at this particular screenshot, at that particular time, I had 5 shares of stock that I bought at an average cost of $50.78. So I bought some cheaper than that and some more than that, but the average came out to be $50.78. Now, if you look up here at the top, at that particular point in time, Sony was worth $109.92. Well, if I bought 5 of them at an average of $50.78, that means my market value is $549.60, because what they did was they took 109.92 times 5. This is the market value. Now, you know, I only paid on average $250 for these 5 shares of stock. So my total return is I've made over those years $295.71, which is more than double what I paid for it. So that's a good example. However, There are some bad ones as well. So I want you to look. Hey, I haven't picked perfectly. Well, I don't want to say I didn't pick perfectly. I have companies that I own that are negative right now that could possibly go up, but they could also crash and burn too. So here's another one. It's called Tilray. At that particular point in time, I had 5 shares of stock that I bought at an average of $37.70. What it'll do is every time you buy one, it'll average it out. Right now, well, not right now, April 22nd, it was only worth $16.72, which means I'm losing. In fact, I'm down $104.89 on April the 22nd. Now, it might have gone up. I know if I go back now to see what Tilray is doing, I can look right now. It take me 5 seconds to get there. So when I look at Tilray, let me see if it's gotten any better or any worse. Now, I don't want you to romanticize when you're like, oh, I got to look at this every single day and whatnot. You just, I don't want you looking at skies falling. Like if I look at Tilray right now, okay, it's now at $10.43 and dropping. But I may buy another share of it because it may come back up. And for people that don't know what Tilray is a global um, consumer packaged goods company where they look at, well, this is the library, so I won't say what they look at. I'll let you look it up yourself. But it's going the wrong way right now. But it could go the opposite way. You never know. I've seen those that go both ways. All right, so let's talk about stash. Now, historically, this has been people's favorites because you got portfolios already diversified. They're categorized by whether they're blue chip or tech stocks or defense stocks with the military. I mean, it's already made for you. So you can buy partial shares of stocks and ETFs. It will allow you to quickly diversify and create a portfolio so you don't have to do the homework. I still recommend you do the homework and create your own because you may do better than the experts. You see, the monkeys did. So I'll just say from my portfolio perspective, which one has been best for me? Robinhood, because I was able to create my own and there have been some great winners, but there's been a few losers as well. But when I look at the yield that I got on Acorns, Stash, and Robinhood, percentage-wise, Robinhood for me is winning, Stash is second, and Acorns is third, but Acorns has been the most consistent. All right. It costs as little as $1 a month. If you are a student, give them your student email address. I think they still have the deal to where if you're a student, you don't have to pay, but that could have changed. And then the good thing about the ETF option, it gives you descriptions of each one of the options. It gives you a synopsis and a level of risk. So with that being said, I'm going to skip this particular tutorial and I'm going to go ahead and let you know of what I've done. So what you do is you put all your information in like you saw, as you saw the other ones. You see topics just like this. American Innovators. What is American Innovators about? American Innovators is an ETF that Stash provides for you as an option for you to invest. Well, it says invest in tech companies that are changing the world like Apple, Google, and Facebook. Well, we know how much Google cost if you bought one full share. Facebook, and some Facebook drama just happened not too long ago. So, the price went down recently. But right now, Facebook is $314 a share. And we already talked about what Apple is. Now, some of you are probably thinking, I can't buy a full share, Dr. Ford. But if you're telling me that American Innovators is a portfolio already made that has Apple, Google, and Facebook and others already in it, I may be interested in buying the ETF American Innovators. So how much does it cost? You can put $5 in. You can put $20 in. You can put $50 in. You can put $100 in. It doesn't matter what you put in as long as you do it consistently and you know the rules to the game as far as compound interest. So with that being said, You can buy as much as you want, and you can put it on auto as well. So what I did was, let's talk about American Innovators a little bit more. So if you look at American Innovators, and they'll give you the chance to do this, you'll go to the overview. What you see is this. Wow, if I buy American Innovators, 19% of American Innovators is Apple. 16% of it is Microsoft. 3% of it is Visa. 3% is also Nvidia, and 3% is MasterCard. So if I put $25 in right now in American Innovators, my $25 would be chopped up into itty bitty pieces, and it would buy portions of all of those companies. But Dr. Ford, is it just those 5 companies? I'm glad you asked. This particular this particular ETF, as of April the 22nd, has over 333 holdings. So you are telling me, Dr. Ford, that this ETF, I would be purchasing a partial share of 333 companies? The answer is yes. And they will give you the option on the app to look at what all 333 companies are. So if you look, for example, Apple takes up almost 20%, then Microsoft, then Cisco, then Intel, then Oracle, then Visa, then Hewlett Packard twice, and then AMD, Advanced Micro Devices. If you have a older computer, you might see AMD on the near the keyboard. That's one of the processors. So, wow, I don't have to find 30 companies necessarily. I still recommend you do that if you want to create your own portfolio. But these ETFs, wow, they've already done the work for me. So, with that being said, here are the sign up bonuses. I want you to be able to start on the upside. Sign up for all 3 apps with my referral link will yield you $25 and a free share of stock. And I will show you how each works. So what you'll do is, if you have your Android, iPhone, iPad, whatever the case may be, what I would do is, in the next few slides, I will give you my sign up link. If you sign up for Acorns, they will they will put $5 into your account, and then you can set up your account. If you sign up for Stash, it used to be $5. Now it's 20. They have a special. So if you sign up successfully for Stash, you already got $20 you can put in tech stock. A tech ETF, a defense ETF. They will give you categories where they would give you the research. And then Robinhood, I will say this. I have seen people get a $5 stock for free. There is a lady that works for the city of Memphis that got Facebook when it was almost $200 randomly. So she was already winning with $200 just for signing up. So again, it's random. I've seen people get like I said, a $3 share stock, but again, you're still winning. So if you join today on this free webinar, and you can already be up $25 and have a free share of stock, and you got all the knowledge that goes with it, that's hashtag winning. So if you want to take a picture of this or write it or whatever the case may be, this is the link in order to receive $5 for signing up for Acorns. So what I'll do is, for the purposes of this video, as well as those who may want to tune in later, I will leave this up so that they can have time to write this down or take a screenshot. After I give all 3 of these links out, we will take Q&A because we're not going to go all the way to 3 o'clock. But I want to answer every and any type of question you have concerning these apps, investing at large, or the stock market. Again, I will give you my personal experience, but I will give it to you from an educational standpoint because I cannot give advice. I can only give you historical context. All right, with that being said, here's the Robinhood sign up bonus app link. Well, where can I go and to actually look at what are the larger cap stocks? We can do a quick Google search and I can show you exactly where it's located. And then lastly, here's the stash. All right. And that is a zero where you see EDMUND, DI0, B as in Bell, P as in Paul. Okay. And ladies and gentlemen, I try to make it as simple as possible. So you see thank you right there. So let me answer that one question real quick. So what I'm going to do is I am going to go to a new window. I'm going to type in www.companiesmarketcap.com. And what you're going to see is the largest companies by market cap. Now, again, I'm not telling you what to pick in your own portfolio. I'm just giving you data so you can make your own decisions. But using the data that's given to us, you see Apple has the largest market cap out of all the companies. Now, some of these companies you cannot trade because if you are in the United States or you use a US app, you might not be able to invest. Like, for instance, number 3 says Saudi Aramco. That's Saudi Arabia. I tried to type it in Robinhood. It would not give it to me. So
Dr.
we just,
Ford,
yes, ma'am.
we can't see your screen. We can just still see the PowerPoint.
Thank you for saying, look, thank you so much.
No
So let
problem.
me stop sharing and then reshare. So let me stop sharing. And let me go to share. Let me find the one with the market cap. Thank you for letting me know that. Can you see it now?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. So I went to a website called companiesmarketcap.com, and it gave me the largest companies by market cap. As you can see here, Apple has the largest market cap out of any company with a $2.466 trillion with a T market cap. Now, again, this is for educational purposes. I'm not going to tell you what to invest in. I can't do that, but I can show you historical data. If you look, Microsoft is second. There's a company called Saudi Aramco that I just mentioned where I do not believe that you would be able to invest in that. I know through Robinhood you can. If there's another way that you can, then I'll let you do that research. If you look at Google, it's named Alphabet. It is number 4 on the list. If you look over here, it tells you the price also. Now, I know some of you are looking at, well, 149.20 I may be able to do. Microsoft, yeah, that could be a possibility. And then you look at this saying, Lord have mercy. But remember, you might find an ETF that has Google in it. Or you may say, you know what? I'm going to buy a whole share of Google one day, but I'm going to put that on my list of 30. That's what I did. Amazon was on my list of 30. I didn't buy it at $3,406 though. But I'm just saying, hey, you never know. Tesla has gone back up to $1,000. It cracked $1,000 a day and a half ago. They did something called a stock split. And let me tell you what that does. It doesn't gain or lose any value. But let's say that the price of Tesla was $1,000 right now. And Tesla decides we're going to do a 5-to-1 split. That means that if you own one share at $1,000, what they're going to do is they're going to give you 5 shares at $200. Now, you know, part of their reason is, well, let's see if anybody's new people are going to come in or the older folks more seasoned folks, rather, may come in at a lower price and buy more. They've done a split already. So if they, I'm gonna let you know right now, if they did not do the split, Tesla would probably be worth about $4,000 or $5,000 a share. If you look at Facebook, Facebook is number 7 on the list. Let me give you a nugget. Berkshire Hathaway, you know who owns that? Warren Buffett. I'm only gonna look at USA for right now. You got Nvidia, you got JP Morgan Chase, you got Visa, you got Alibaba. So Johnson & Johnson, you see a lot of companies where you're like, yeah, I pass by them all the time when I drive down Elvis Presley Boulevard or Union Avenue or Poplar Avenue or wherever I live, work, and play. So use this as a guide to determine what you may want to put as a future portfolio. Now, some of these I have, some of these I don't have. But I just want you to see for yourself that there are a lot of companies here that you may be interested in. Now, I see some of you ladies looking at this right there. Now, stop looking at that right there. Okay. But anyway, um, you got Charles Schwab, you got Honeywell, you got, oh, there's that Sony. It's number 95 on the list. So with that being said, let's now, I'll stop sharing unless I have to share again. And I will let you see who gave you all this information. Here I am. So hello, everybody. It's 2:17. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at some of these questions. I'm going to scroll back up just in case I missed a few. Ms. Johnson, you always have some great questions, so I need to scroll back up to see. Oh, I see them. All right, number 1, what is the benefit of full shares versus partial shares? I'll say it like this. As long as you're in the game, it really doesn't matter. If you're a first-time investor that does not have the capital in order to buy full shares, but you still want to be in the game, then fractional shares are beneficial to where you may be able over time to buy a full share of stock. Let's say that you are on that I want to buy a full share of Amazon plan where you want to buy it, but it's $3,400 right now. Now I'm going to mention this. You may get on the partial deal, but the price could go up or the price could go down. But at least you'll still be in. So let's say that you decide, well, I'll buy a tenth of a share. Well, that's $340. Or I'll buy 100th of a share. That's $34. Just know if your goal is to buy a full share later, you come up with what your goal and plan and timeline is in order to buy that full share of stock. Because let me put it this way. I am on a very, very slow plan on buying Berkshire Hathaway because did you see how much Berkshire Hathaway cost? Berkshire Hathaway Class A is the most expensive stock, period. Now, somebody probably going to do a Google search right now and say, well, how much is it? Well, let me type it in real quick. Berkshire Hathaway is, well, you know what? It's on the screen. Did anybody get a chance to see how much it costs? I'm going to type it in the chat. Right now, one share of Berkshire Hathaway, and yes, it's not a typo. You see this, you're going to be like, oh, I'll never have one share of that unless I win the lottery. Does everybody see that? One share of Berkshire Hathaway Class A as of this recording costs $434,132. Now, don't ask me, Dr. Ford, you got a share of that? I'm like, look, I'm on the super payment plan on that. I got like 0.0000 something on that. But that's the most expensive. Do they give dividends? No. But if you got $434,132 worth of stock, do you really need those dividends? Like today, if I go to Robinhood today and I type in Berkshire Hathaway just to see how much gain or loss it had today, I could look right now and tell you. So Berkshire Hathaway, Class A, has lost $3,800 today if you had a whole share. But before you freak out, let's say I want to look at how much it's gained over the last 3 months. It's gained almost $12,000 worth of growth. Over 5 years, it's gained $217,000 worth of growth. So to answer that question, do you want to go partial or full? I'll let you decide on that. Look, if you got $400,000 laying around somewhere, you want to get into Berkshire Hathaway, that's your business. Number two, is it better to have a pre-selected diversified portfolio? I say that there's benefits on both. I created my own in Robinhood, and I have actually benefited better than my stash and my Acorns. I'm not saying that I'm a guru or anything like that, but I did do study on what I wanted to put in my own portfolio. If you don't have the time and you want to go ahead and start working on diversification now, you could pick that diversified portfolio and go ahead and start investing out of the gate. My recommendation is over time, still figure out what type of portfolio you would like to put together. Because I know there were a couple that were not in the ETFs that I invested in that have done remarkably well. So I would say pre-selected diversified portfolios. With Acorns, you have no choice. With Stash, you can pick the ETF that you want out of what they give you. And then on Robinhood, you can still invest in those ETFs, but you can invest in those actual companies as well. Number three, how do you read the stock charts? Okay. You have stock charts such as in Robinhood, where you can read the daily chart to see what it does within that time period. The market opens at 8:30 a.m. Central Standard Time, but there is a pre-market period. It closes, as a matter of fact, in 37 minutes at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. So you're able to buy or sell, but I tell folks don't sell unless you're about to buy something right after the fact. Um, that's my recommendation. But do as you please with your own. I would say to essentially just do the research. Just do the research because remember with Acorns, you only got 5 choices. On Stash, you have the ETFs that they're going to give you. And then in Robinhood, you got the most latitude. Number 4, how do you start investing for a 4-year-old? All right, so you have to be 18, but what you can do is, and I don't know if the rules have changed, but you can always invest for your child for the purposes of transferring that portfolio to them, as well as the rules to the game when they turn 18 years old. You should be able to do that, but you would have to call them or get the email support to figure out how to do that. There are other companies such as your A Schwab and your TD Ameritrade that make it easy as well. Some of them do charge commissions, some of them don't now. So I would just say do the research on that. But by the time they're 18 years old and you have shown them the rules to the game, you're only doing what folks have been doing for generations, teaching their children so that they can promote something called generational wealth, which is part of what we're talking about today. And then number 5, is there a best time to pull your investment out to avoid risk, or do you just keep it in? Do as you please. If you're asking me personally, the only time that I have sold is when I was in my infancy stages on an item, and I wish I did not because I bought something else. And when I sold it for cheap, what happened was the value of the same stock that I got back in, I had to buy it at a higher price. But you have Warren Buffett that talks about buy and hold all of the time. And there is a quote that Warren Buffett had, and I do not want to misquote him, but it dealt with 10 years and 10 minutes and I'm going to give that to you right now. He simply said, I want to make sure I got it. Let me find that quote. If you're not willing to own a stock for 10 years, do not even think about owning it for 10 minutes. Warren Buffett. All right. What other questions do we have? Is there a benefit to opening a college fund versus a traditional investment fund for our kids' future? It all depends on the return on investment. Each bank, each investment group, each credit union is different. They all have different rules. Some have penalties, some don't. It all depends. So, hate to give you a vague answer like that, but I would simply say ask your bank or credit union what their rates are and try to lock in what you can, see if they're variable, see if they're fixed. Wong Ying, when a stock splits, is it a good time to buy? Many times I've seen the price be on a discount where new people who may want to buy that particular share of stock have that opportunity. Many times I've seen the price go down in the interim, but then go back up later down the road. So, for example, let's say Amazon decided to split. You might see a lot of people flood in and say, oh, Amazon is on sale. Well, it's really not on sale. Because if I got 5 shares of Amazon for 4,000 and they split it down to you getting in for 1,000, I have 20 shares at a value where I'm not gaining or losing, but it does draw other people who cannot purchase it at a higher amount to be able to purchase it at a lower amount. Very good question, Wong Ying. So let's see what else we have. What's an ETF? I missed that. My definition is that it is the cousin of a mutual fund. It's already diversified where an individual can purchase an ETF for automatic diversification. And an ETF, if you specifically want to know what it's called an exchange traded fund where they hold the same securities in the same proportions as a stock market index or bond market index. Now, I'm reading that from Investopedia. I like my definition better, where I'm simply saying that you put a lot of companies into one pot, and if I decided that I wanted to take my spoon and scoop up something in that pot, I'm getting a whole lot of those companies in one scoop. So you don't have to create the diversified portfolio with the ETF. It's already diversified for you. Now, the only thing in that is it's already diversified, so you don't have to do the work. But it's those particular companies that you will be purchasing as a whole, fractionally. All right. What other questions do we have? These are all wonderful questions. These are all great questions. Wong Yin, you always have some that you want to say verbally, so I can entertain those, or Ms. Johnson, Ms. Bolden, anybody who has a question.
Dr. Ford, I do have a question.
Yes.
As someone who's just beginning and I'm just trying to start, would you suggest that I start with stocks or start in my IRA, or what is the starting point if I only have, let's just say, a little to put somewhere to get started?
Okay, very good question. So with what I've given you, you mentioned IRA too. So what I would say with IRA, I'll talk about. Go back to Acorns, for example. You're just linking your debit and credit cards and the change is rounding up. So that's money that you might have spent on something else and either it's not growing or you already spent it. You can also put in as little as $5 a month just to be like, hey, I'm growing. This is a start for me. You know, I started off with $10 a month in Acorns. And when things got better for me, I decided to put in more, but you decide what you want to put in. I would simply say this: don't put your bill money in there. Don't put your mortgage money in there. Don't put your car note money in there. Do not put money in there where you are very anxious in taking it out, because you're going to be in this for the long term. And you saw the graphic where I showed you, hey, if I put $5 a day away for 20 years, I got 100 grand worth of portfolio value. But that means you have to do that for 20 years straight, and you can't take it out. So that's why I say don't put any money in that. Well, I got my mortgage. I'm like, no, pay your mortgage. We want you to have a roof over your head. Pay your car note because we want you to go from point A to point B for whatever reason. But I would say put the money that you're willing to invest comfortably away. There will be some ups and downs. I showed you the historical context. Usually when there's a down time, it comes right back up. As far as IRAs, there are benefits. I will say with IRAs, they are accessible and easy to set up, and most of your people are eligible to open and contribute. I would take advantage of the traditional IRA tax break, or you could defer that to a Roth IRA. I'm not the actual expert on that. I would say that talk to either your employer's HR or somebody who specializes in that, because there are several options. There'll be options to where if you're 59 and a half years old, do you want to do X, Y, or Z? It's a lot of things. And without getting deep into it, we may be able to bring somebody on in April to talk about that. We had somebody, Wong Ying, who did that before. That was Bobby. Bobby's gonna give me if I hold on. Bobby, he's gonna get me. Bobby Peters. He has his own investment company. He could actually talk about all of those things. And then I would also say with the IRA, it's exclusively yours. And I would also say this too, because I work for the city of Memphis. If your employer gives you the option to maximize your contribution, I'm going to say it so I won't get in trouble on the library. Maximize it, because mathematically, if you maximize your contribution, you may bring a little bit less home in your check. But 30 years from now, you will be possibly bringing in double in your retirement than the person that did not match the maximum. That makes sense. Did you have a follow-up?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, I see 3 dots being typed right now, so I'll wait for that question. I hope you learned a lot today, because this is probably one of the first times that we got deep into the apps. There was talk when I talked to the 18-year-olds about this, all the way up to those when I went to University in Memphis and talked about this pre-pandemic, a few of the churches, a few of the nonprofits. I plan on entertaining this with 2 of the group of the university and WOW. So let's see. Question: what kind of advisor do you recommend if we have more questions about investing? Because I work for the library, I'm not going to be able to give you any names or any companies. I'd have to give you the research on that. But I would say get a personal financial advisor. But just remember what I taught you today. You can be able to do some of these items yourself, but as far as like 401k and IRA and Roth and all of that, I would go to a personal financial advisor so that you can find out how to maximize your. And I don't want to give anybody's names or anything like that. I know people, but again, I don't want you going back. You told me this person, I lost all my money. I might not have a job after that. But I do appreciate your question, Richard. I really do.
Thank you. And this is his wife, Michelle. Richard and I have been listening in, and
Yes.
we wanted to say thank y'all very much, because this is I think a class or something that every community should have, especially young people starting out. It's just a really been a good, I think, educational session for, especially for me, and for us as a young family. So thank you.
Absolutely. And look, you say you have a young family. So, I talked about this with stocks and credit. One thing that I would recommend to those young families, you got the tools today. You can prepare your children to already have those tools so that they can run with the football, and you're creating your generational wealth. So you may have like I told somebody, you could have the Eccles Empire if you would like. You could create the Douglas dynasty if you wanted to. So I'm trying to think of a good word that begins with G that would go with it, but I know you'll figure it out. And I say that with credit as well, because one of the questions that came up yesterday was about how do I get my children prepared regarding credit, and what can I do in order for them to have, at the age of 18, a very good credit score. Well, I've informed those parents and guardians and others that you want to make sure that if you decide to make your child an authorized user on your credit, there's a good and a bad on that. Because I had a lady at Manhood University in Wiles that asked me the contrary and said, why does my daughter want me to take her off of my authorized user account? I thought I was giving her something great at the age of 18. I asked her 3 questions. That third answer was a bad answer. So I asked her question number 1. Have you ever been late on your account? She said no. I said, okay, good. Question number 2. How old is your account? Oh, I've had this account for 22 years. I said, oh, that's great. Now, question number 3. How much do you owe on your card? Well, my card is a $7,500 card and I owe $7,300. I said, up there it is. You have over 90% utilization, and your daughter's credit score is going down because 30% of the credit score is utilization. I said, you got a couple of choices. Now, if you're able to pay that thing off, great. But if you're not able to pay it off or pay it down to at least 10% of the utilization, you're better off taking her off of being an authorized user. Because some people think that if I just piggyback and copy paste somebody else's, it's going to be a great thing. But you don't want to copy paste anybody that has high utilization, has ever been late, because why would you want to copy and paste something that's going to drop your score down? And you definitely want the credit age. So I say that because it sounds like you both are trying to get all of the financial literacy tools you can so that you can have that dynasty or that legacy per se.
Yes, that's right. Thank you. Yeah, when I'm originally from Memphis and born and raised, I've been out here about 10 years, but my mom still and my whole family still lives in Memphis. And we want to congratulate the Memphis Public Libraries for that recent award that was just given.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, so thank you.
Oh, you're more than welcome. You're more than welcome. I was trying to find a synonym for dynasty that began with G, and the only thing I could find was genealogy, but I don't think that's what we're looking for. I was just trying to find a catchy phrase for the well, I can say Judino's generational wealth. That begins with G.
Thank you.
What other questions do we have? Questions, comments, or concerns? Because we will finish early today. I know there's another question somewhere. It's got to be. Was I that good to where there's no other questions? No, I'm just we all can learn from these things. So look, if there's something that I overlooked, if there's something that you think I could add or we could add, Wong Ying and I can take it back to the group to add, because let me put it this way. The 90-day curriculum to financial literacy started only with 4 topics. It has evolved to 9 topics now. I just showed you a screenshot of the 5 that I did pre-pandemic, but we have taken it further with the 901 personal finance. Any other questions? Last call before we do our final thoughts. Wong Ying, did you want to go ahead and put the final thoughts in, and then I'll close this out?
Okay, I just want to promote the last program of the 901
Yes.
Personal Finance Series, which is this Friday. I think Friday, October the 29th at the same time. That's 12:30 Central Time. It is a book talk by with the author Rick Gillis, and he's the author of Levering the Paying Field, a groundbreaking approach to achieving fair pay. And I can read one part of a review, and it sounds really, really good. It says, Rick Gillis may have resolved the issue of pay disparity in the workplace by embracing the concept laid out in his book. No matter what you do, you could realistically change your pay and your reality. The legacy of levering the paying field could be to change the lives of generations yet to come. So this is just one review of quite a several wonderful reviews. So if you want to get the fair pay in the workplace, you may learn some tips and from this book and from the book talk that you can leverage your paying field and get better pay. So please come and join us this Friday at 12:30 to meet the author of the book, Rick Gillis.
Very good, very good. Let's see. I see. Thank you for this session. I feel more comfortable about investing in the future. Thank you very much, Ms. Bowden, on that. Anyone else? Questions, comments, or concerns before we close out and we depart, and I give you the rest of your afternoon back? See a couple of dots, so I'll wait for those. Thank you so much. You're more than welcome, Richard. Well, the entire family. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we do have one more topic tomorrow. Hopefully you can make it there. Wong Ying gave a great introduction to tomorrow's event, and we will definitely make sure that more of these items are publicized so that we can have more people here, because you know, I know the pandemic and everything and a couple other variables. Before the pandemic hit, we used to have a room about 25 or 30 online. And like I said, before the pandemic, I would have a room at University of Memphis filled with high schoolers and college students where we would be talking about all of this. Now, my Manhood University and WOW's events, oh, we can't find a seat. It's that full when we talk about credit and investing and everything. So the information is there, and we appreciate you. Again, as I said before, in bullet point number 5, share this information. Go ahead and sign up. You got the tools. I know you'll do well, and I hope to see you in a future event. But until then, thank you again for attending. This concludes our next to last item with the 901 Personal Finance Oktoberfest. We hope to see you tomorrow. If we're not able to see you tomorrow, at least go back and look at our other resources that we have through our 901 Personal Finance. Everybody have a great, wonderful day, and we will see you soon.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.